Welcome back to Reform Millennials, a podcast where we discuss the intersection of markets, politics, and pop culture. Please remember that the content of this show is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing should be considered financial or tax advice. Please consult a professional before you make any investment decisions. Daniel, welcome to my house and to the podcast. I appreciate your time. How you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Super excited to do this.
Yeah, it's good to have you in Edmonton. How often do you come back, just out of curiosity?
Once or twice a year, at least once a year, sometimes twice a year. Yeah.
Do the parents come that direction more frequently to Vancouver?
My parents are half the time in Edmonton and half the time in California. So
Okay.
like about an hour east of Palm Springs. I'm here either to visit them or my in-laws. So yeah.
You generally have good reason to come
Yeah,
back.
yeah.
That's good. So for those that don't know, at least watching this podcast, you would be unique in terms of folks that I've interviewed in the past. But I think it sticks with interesting business development, interesting business stories. You own Haven Shop. You founded that along with your brother. 2006, is that correct?
Yeah, December 16th, I think. 2006 was when we officially opened.
Okay. Why? Because how old were you in 2006?
I think
Not to date you.
I think I was 24, maybe 25.
So 24 years old, you start a shop in Edmonton. How come you did that?
Well, I mean, the short answer is like traveling and seeing a lot of how retail was done in other parts of the world. I mean, you're from Edmonton. You're kind of used to shopping at West Edmonton Mall. That's almost
Yeah.
like what we were known for, or South Common or whatever. And that was just what I thought retail was like until I traveled to Europe, to Japan, to different parts of Asia, and seeing how retail was not done in malls and done on street level, and how they were able to elevate the experience really just changed my mind of just being like, why isn't this done here? And then opening up my eyes to a whole world of brands that were out there that I didn't know really existed. So that's kind of why, just bringing, like a lot of people, just bringing an idea that didn't exist in your part of the world and traveling, finding out about it, and trying to bring it back. Yeah.
That I feel like that plays with so many different sectors, but for clothing, and I think it's much more important. You're right in saying, and I totally agree with you, Edmonton tends to be, I would say, behind.
Yeah.
Or just stuck in their own way. You bringing a new concept to the city is obviously very interesting, but even in 2006, that is still early. You bring it here, you have some success. Had you already thought of the name at that point? Was it Haven right out the gate? Because it's a very evocative name.
It was one of a handful of choices. But I mean, the reason for the name was exactly right. Like, we wanted it to feel like your secret spot, your haven, for people of like-minded taste. And that does go back to traveling too. It's a bit of, when you're walking around Japan in the mid 2000s, there was no roaming. Like, you couldn't look up Google Maps, or you could turn on roaming, but you'd come home to $1,000 cell phone bill. So
Right.
It was very much just like fumbling around the city, trying to ask people, hoping they spoke English, and finding these really cool spots. And the name is kind of evocative of that. So you're exactly right.
So I think about when I was going through your story for the last couple of weeks and reading about it, I was constantly remembering the different technology in the different periods. So you have 2006, and at this time I'm 16 and I'm barely in high school. But you think about the phone that you had in your hand at that point, and I'm using a BlackBerry when I'm 16 or 17 years older in 2006. You kind of fast forward through the years to 2009, and Instagram isn't even out yet. So you're thinking about the technology you would have had to have been working with in founding the business, and it's just completely different. If you're in 2025 thinking about the start of this really interesting clothing brand and their story, their store, you can't think of it from today because it's completely different. Society, culture is completely different. The technology you use is completely different. It was shocking to me to think all the way through from 2006 or 2009, 2011 through to 2025 and all the different technology advancements. But it makes sense when I was reading about the fact that in 2011 you guys started a magazine. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Yeah, it was called Intelligence Magazine. Yeah, I mean, what do you want to know about it?
So what I want to kind of get to is what I find super unique about your guys' store and story is the different marketing tactics you guys used all the way through to come to where you are now, which I think is really, really fun. So tell me about the beginning, the first store, and then through to your guys' move to Vancouver.
Oh man, the first store, like, that was such a struggle to open. I mean, I'm really trying to remember just how hard it was coming out of school. Well, first of all, like, we love risk, me and my brother, and we've always been like that. And we knew we were going to start something together. But we both have finance degrees. So I was out in Calgary working for a Canadian bank called ATB Financial, like doing mortgages for people. And he was in Vancouver for CIBC, like selling mutual funds. And then we're like, this is not my life. We're not doing this. But we did it for a year, knowing we would come back, meet somewhere, and do something together. And this was a very natural fit after we traveled. But that first store was really tough. Like we took about 9 or 10 months and built that store ourselves with our father. Shout out to Stan the man. But we built like our first 7 build outs together, like just me, Arthur, and
really?
Yeah. So we also have, in addition to like the finance background, we have like a construction background because my dad just owned like 6 or 7 commercial properties and was always fixing them up. And I don't know, since we were 10 and could pick up a hammer, it's just like, hey, you're coming with me. And that's how we learned how to do like almost everything. But that first store took so long that we opened up on December 16th, which was 10 days before Boxing Day. So we had all this stock that basically immediately, this was before Black Friday took over Boxing Day. Like Boxing Day back in 2006 was a big deal in Canada.
Absolutely.
Now it's not as much anymore.
I remember going to West Edmonton Mall.
Yeah, Linos, right? Yeah. So that was a big deal. So, we had new stock that we were just sitting on in our parents' basement, and then it had to go on sale about like 10 days later. So that first like 2 seasons was really, really rough and was a big just like learning experience on the buying cycle and, how to buy inventory properly. But yeah, so that first store was really challenging to open. And then we knew pretty early on that we wanted to go to Vancouver. I think at this point it was like 2009. I guess your question was, why did we want to move to Vancouver?
Well, I see you had the store open for 3 years, it seems, at least from my timeline in my head.
Yeah.
And you make the decision to look into a transition. 2009 comes, you haven't gone to Vancouver yet. At this point, I'm guessing you guys have you moved the store at all? How is that working out? Like how are you gaining traction with customers, new customers?
It was online for sure. So, I mean, back then we didn't have an online store. It was just a blog for the first, I'd say, year and a half. But we knew online was going to be a thing, but no one was really doing it in 2006. So I flew down to Seattle and built our first online shop with my uncle, who was a web developer. And there was no Shopify at the time. Like you just had to make your own sort of scrappy database that didn't really work. But yeah, we did that because we saw like there wasn't that many customers in Edmonton, and we were just sitting there, watching YouTube videos and wasting our time and trying to think of like, okay, we can't just keep doing this forever. We can't wait for customers. Like, how do we get more customers? But we did notice that these blogs were posting about us, like Hypebeast or High Snobiety, and whenever we got posted, we would get phone orders or email orders. So that's kind of how we knew. And then when people came here, like not that many people travel through Edmonton, but there are like musicians and artists and whatnot. And we noticed that when they came through, they would stop at our store the same way they would stop at, like Corso 32 or one of these nice restaurants back in the day. So they would stop at our store and like, we're like, how are these people finding out about us? So we knew pretty early on that creative professionals were like our target demographic. And then those people started ordering online for us. So I was like, okay, there's obviously a bigger market outside of Edmonton. And where are we going to go next? We had a lot of family in Vancouver. It didn't seem that far away. So it just seemed like a natural sort of fit. Plus, my brother was like kind of dating someone at the time, so there was like a girlfriend reason to move out there. Yeah. That was a tough move. I mean, I think we had 2 employees at the time. So I remember him moving, and like the night of him, like the day after he was gone, I was just like, oh shit. Like, how am I going to run this company essentially by myself? Because he was going to go out with my dad and do construction for, another 6 to 9 months. And I was just going to have to run everything on my own. So it was a real, I was probably like, I don't know, 27 at the time. It's like a young business owner. It was pretty tough.
And it's a pretty formative time of your life too.
Yeah.
So I parse through kind of what you just said and think, okay, everyone who comes into Edmonton, and there aren't a ton of fashion forward, what I would consider to be cool folks that are shopping at your brand. There's not as many as perhaps maybe
in Edmonton,
Milan.
you mean, like locally?
Yeah, in Edmonton.
No, not that many.
Customer base is smaller. But when folks do come to town, they're seeking you out, and they're doing it intentionally. And you're getting recognized on these Hypebeast like blog sections. I remember when I was a kid, I was always on the Classy issue. I don't know if you remember what that was, but it was just this like feed roll of photos of interesting, what I would consider to be cool photos.
Was that a website or was it like?
Yeah.
Okay.
It still exists today, and but now they have the ability to click through to the products that people are wearing in the images. But at that time, you had clearly identified a source of material or clothing that was hitting with very hip folks. And I find that that's not an easy thing to do. Obviously, you and your brother had taste to begin with, but how did you acquire the clothing you needed to separate yourself and become a unique storefront? Because I don't think that is even easy. To my understanding, going in and creating relationships with very desirable names is very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So how the heck did you do that?
That's actually like a pretty easy answer. Well, the age was like an obstacle, a hurdle for sure. But the answer is just like networking. I don't know, what is that saying? Your net worth is your network. I mean, that's pretty true, and it carries across a lot of different industries. But back in those days, like mid 2000s, these Japanese brands, they didn't do business over email or phone calls. Like, you had to go there. You had to be like a genuine, authentic person and really actually be interested in developing a relationship with them. And you had to be willing to like go there several times and almost prove yourself. Like, I remember the first time we got Neighborhood, they invited us to their exhibition, but they emailed us the day before. So they were like, hey, we see that you're interested in us. Our exhibition starts tomorrow. Can you make it? So my brother books a flight to Tokyo for the next day, and he flies out. And then when he gets there, they're like, well, thank you for coming. You can take a look, but you can't order. So, and it was just like their way of like proving if for us to prove that, you know, we were serious about it. Because they were a little bit like insular back then. Like the internet social media wasn't what it was. Like they were still sort of a self-contained market economy. So for an outsider to do that, like you really had to go there and show them that you're genuine.
That's interesting. I mean, I for one have not been to Japan, but every story that I've heard is very similar.
You know, I'm so jealous of you that you haven't been, because that means the first time you go, you will get to experience this culture shock like no other. And I wish that I could like erase that part of my brain so I can experience it again, because it's very special. Yeah.
Sadly, we had a trip booked, and then we ended up having our first kid. It was like we booked it 10 or 12 months out, and then Adriana gets pregnant. And then it's like, we're not going anymore.
You know, there's a lot of tourism happening in Japan right now. So maybe wait till your youngest is like 5 or something. And then take a trip.
Yeah, it is a long ways away. So you're able to acquire some pretty heavy-weighted brands. That's obviously important, because that gives you the notoriety. It makes it an avenue for folks to come and actually buy these that are very difficult to come by.
Yeah. You know what it was? Sorry to interrupt you. Like the thing was, like, there weren't just wasn't that many people willing to go do that. You know, people went to like stores in the US or Canada. They just went to New York to buy. And we're like, well, if we want these things, we have to go to Japan like 6 or 7 times a year and do what nobody else is willing to do, and like meet with these people and develop like an actual relationship. So it's all it really was. It was all, there just wasn't even anyone doing it.
You know what's hilarious? You can listen to a million podcasts and everyone will talk about hustle culture, and it's all about just actually doing it.
Yeah.
If it's hard, if you do it, that's probably where the value is. Yeah. So if you just do the hard thing, it'll likely result in something that will surprise you.
Yeah.
I wish more people would just think of it that way, but truthfully, people are just lazy and don't actually want to do the hard thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
And you being addicted to risk and then willing to do the hard thing is something that I think probably produces the outcome you want, at least the right one, or the one that is painted in success, so to speak. So you have all these brands that do great. You're working through the years. You have your brother who's incentivized to go to Vancouver. That seems like that's number one. But 2, you want to go there and you open up a shop there. Was the first one in Gastown?
Yeah.
Is it still the same?
No, we're on our 3rd shop in Vancouver now, through various like lease expirations and a tragic flood a few years back. So, but we did know we always wanted to be in Gastown, and our first shop in Vancouver was it was in this area. It's pretty notorious, but it was in this alley of Gastown called Blood Alley, and it was like trying to capture that feeling of stumbling around in Japan looking for this little shop and finding this haven in this hidden little shop. We were trying to sort of recapture that feeling. If you know anything about that first shop in Jailer's Muse, it was like you had to go down this alley that kind of nobody wanted to go into, and then like take a couple turns. Yeah,
it feels like the experience was something that you cultivated intentionally.
Yeah, I mean, it was in Edmonton too. Like it was off Back Street and downtown Edmonton. I mean, it was my parents' building, and it was an empty shell. There was like nothing in it. There wasn't even walls, a ceiling, a floor. Like we had to build everything, but it was like really, like you had to really find it.
Yeah. So you had to know what you were doing. And to think back at that time, Google Maps wasn't as easy. You didn't have Uber. You didn't have the same, I guess, ease of finding.
No, like if you went down to this, it's even like this really influential store that that we used to love called Numb de Guerre in New York, and it was off Broadway, and you had to go down a set of like stairs, and it was just like black grating on the wall, and you're like, well, I don't know what's down there. Like, what's going to happen to me when I go down there? Or, you know, for our store in Blood Alley, it's like, should I go down this alley? You know, and it was, there's something about like that experience. I don't know what you call it, like a tunnel, almost a tunnel experience. It's like when you go to some amazing club, or this is a bad example. Let's say if you go to some amazing club, there's always like an entrance sequence that takes you from the present like environment, and it removes you from that, and then you go down this thing, and then it brings you into like this new world. And that's kind of what we're trying to create.
Which is, I mean, when I've had people sit there that are running more businesses that you wouldn't find to be very focused on experience. It's because the competition's probably a little bit lower, and it's really, you're just there to have an outcome, whether it be like a surgeon or a construction company, whatever. They don't tend to try to craft that sort of thing. But I think from 2025 to 2035, you're going to need to do that to differentiate even further for folks. And it's great that you guys have been able to do it. And I think that that's always been the case for clothing, and for something that's more that you show or you're wearing on your body. It's more important to tell a story versus getting your, I don't know, eye surgery or something along those lines. But for you guys, you built this experience. I try to tie a lot of this time frame to technology, because I think that there's a lot of importance in that. And maybe change my mind if that's not true. But the early years, you're trying to gain traction with people that are outside of your city, so that you can deliver more product. What sort of technological changes throughout that first, call it 7-8 years, were the most important in your opinion? Because I would assume that the innovation in the phone and as it develops is so darn important. I find that there was just humor me here. You had a period of time from like 2008, I get my first iPhone, to 2012, maybe call it 13, where Facebook's the most dominant app on your phone. At that time, I'm using Twitter quite a bit, and I'm still an addict, but the experience doesn't change during that period. But then there's a new camera that comes out, and what it enables is for all the previous picture apps to actually become relevant. And this is where Instagram comes in. And it's basically the ability to take a picture and post it into a feed. And this is when the entire game changes. You have Facebook that is got its news feed now. Rather than it being a web app, it is now a mobile app. Their transition from web app to mobile app is incredibly important. It changes absolutely everything for them. And that to me is also changing the way people consume, where they find things, how they're advertised to and influenced. For you guys, you go from storefront being important to then your shop being online. Like, what technological changes did you find caused the biggest ramp in sales, those sorts of things for you guys?
Well, we knew like really early on that Instagram was gonna be a huge thing for our market. So, I mean, very early on, we knew that an online shop was going to be pretty necessary, and then the stores that like didn't pivot and didn't figure that out, obviously, suffered for that. Mm-hmm. And then when Instagram came along, it was the same thing. We were like, we know this is going to be a big deal. So like having the magazine, we kind of tried to transition to being more digital. We were kind of probably too early ahead, at that time. And that's like a whole other story, and we can get into that if you want. But from just like a retailing perspective, we knew that we had to start telling stories and start putting out content better than anyone else was doing it. And that's what we were doing with the website too. Like, I remember just working in a dark office in Edmonton at 2 a.m. trying to get photos up to our online store so these blogs could pick it up. It was the same thing. It was like, okay, we're going to now post it before anyone else posts it to Instagram. It was the same thing. Yeah.
That's super interesting.
It was just hustling. It's like, hey, I know this is important. I'm going to work like really hard at it. People don't really see that. Like, I'm back there taking photos and editing with my one photographer till like 1 a.m., you know.
And it feels almost like it was beneficial that your guys' the type of clothing that you guys sell lent itself to being more online and folks being more niche and unique. And I think that this still holds true to today. You have folks that still go to Simon's and buy clothing, or they'll go to H&M, or they'll buy high volume, lower margin goods, stuff that they're only going to own for a year or a season. Whereas folks that shop at your guys' shop, I think, are holding on to those goods for a long period of time. They're being very intentional, and they really care about what they own. And because of that, that goes through a different research arc and like how they find people and where they end up in terms of shopping. So it's almost as though being online early just meant you guys were going to win no matter what, just because you adopted it at the right and dealt with it. You had to find those customers. So you're like, well, the internet's the only way for me to market to them. Well, shoot, this is how we have to do it. And then as technology develops, everybody goes online. Now, if you don't have an online shop, you don't have a store.
Yeah.
And it's
But
kind of shocking.
There was pivots throughout, and I mean, well, I'm sure you'll get into it, but one of the recent pivots is our brand, because even though we were one of the first to go online, these other players, like the really big shops, like the Mr. Porters, the Essences of the world, Farfetches, all that, they saw what we were doing. They started to get in the same brands. Like, so our moat was starting to erode. So we had to pivot as well. One of the pivots was the magazine, which isn't being produced anymore. But we learned a lot from that. There was a lot of learnings. And the other pivot was to our brand. It was like, okay, well, if this moat is eroding of, you know, Japanese brands, especially after COVID, where they're opening up now and actually answering emails and stuff, what can we do? That's just like uniquely, that only we can do. So that like one of the answers was Haven brand for sure. So there was like a lot of people don't see like all these pivots that we're doing. Kind of, they just take time to play out.
So the pivoting is I mean, it almost feels like everybody has to do it to an extent, but for you guys, it's such a hyper competitive. You mentioned Mr. Porter and Essence. Those are both shops that I've been on personally. They're very big, but I never would have identified that they were direct competitors to you, which is funny.
Yeah, they were, because they were starting to get, and well, for one, like we had a lot of customers just like, well, emailing us, be like, can you price match Mr. Porter or Essence for this Vism thing or this neighborhood piece or whatever, or N Clothing, I think, was another big one. So we just knew firsthand, but also it was like, okay, we do not have the budgets to compete with the advertising budget, and this is when Facebook marketing is starting to become a thing, and we don't have this budget to capture, you know, the necessary traffic that we need. And creatively, it wasn't something that I was interested in doing. Like me and my brother, when I say me, I mean both of us. I didn't want like 1,000 brands. Like I didn't want it to just be about numbers. You know, I wanted something to do something like meaningfully creative, not just be a giant e-commerce department store, just focused on margins and numbers.
Fair enough. It almost feels like you want it to have an authentic, like its own like brand. Because to me, if I go on Essence, I would never buy any Essence clothing, because it's just a place. It doesn't tell a story. Whereas the same thing goes for Mr. Porter. It feels like that was just a magazine of sorts. And with you guys, it feels as though you are one. And it's kind of similar. I find it that you guys are closer to Kith than you are to Mr. Porter. Yet it's more of a mix.
That's a very good comparison. And I hate making that comparison, but I say it a lot because like business model wise, it is pretty close. Kith does have, like a lot of people don't think of it that way, but Kith does have a large third-party brand assortment, especially when you go to their stores. If you've ever been to a Kith store, it's huge. Like, and there's a lot of other brands there, but most people think of them as probably a brand first. And although our aesthetic and customer base is probably pretty different, like the business model is pretty similar.
Okay. So I was at least onto something there.
For sure.
So you mentioned that when you say me, I mean we. What's the difference between you and your brother in your guys' business? Like, so I myself also work with my brother.
Okay.
It's challenging in its own way.
Is he older or younger?
He's younger than me.
Yeah. What's his role?
He's associate PM in my team. So he works for me, so to speak.
Got it.
So it's less of a partnership, more of a hierarchy and extent. But I intend on it being a partnership.
Right.
It's just we're not where you guys are in terms of that being a reality. But it comes with its own challenges. I always tell the story that when you're working with your brother and you go to an office and other folks are doing a similar thing, but him and I, and we have a team of 4, but him and I he will say things to me that only he can get away with. And if it was a different situation, he would never be able to do that. So that is it's weird for me because we'll be it's very quick. There's no mixing. There's no BS. So I find it to be efficient and kind of a nice thing, but it also is a pain. Now, in your guys' case, you guys are truly working as a partnership together. Tell me how because you have to be, I would assume, different. I've never met your brother, but I presume you're different. What are the roles?
We're pretty different personality-wise. So he's like creative director and really, I think you said it in your show notes, like the idea guy. And I'm very much like on the operations side. So although we make all the big decisions together and there's a lot of debate, a lot of back and forth, there's a pretty clear separation of roles. And it's exactly like you said, there's no like BS. We're gonna call each other out like pretty quickly. And in the earlier years, it was tough. Like there was a lot of like swearing and like almost fist fights and just being like, I can't work with you anymore. But I think that was more the product of our age, maybe. And as we got older and wiser and started actually reading like leadership books and management books and trying to just like study this stuff, we got a lot better at working together. Where like to this point now, it feels really. I mean, it's amazing. Like I can't think of anyone else I'd rather do this with. It's really complementary, and we kind of stay in each other's lanes, but also help each other out when we need to, for sure.
When you develop, I mean, throughout that time, you're effectively developing trust within one another. And I mean, you guys have known each other since birth, but the reality is that you still have to come to trust each other's like decision-making skills. And is he actually going to get this done? Does he have any taste if he's the creative director? Obviously, you now have come to trust all of those things. And I mean, you still have to rebuild it with anybody, even if you have known them forever. So the fact that you've been able to do it and so successfully is a testament for sure. I mean, the fact that you guys are also continually educating yourselves, it seems like that helps. And
yeah, that is the one thing that people always, a lot of people ask me that, and we're kind of going off script, but a lot of people ask me like, what is like the one thing that's been a thing to your success? And man, I hate to say it, but a lot of times it's just reading. Like I read a lot, whether that's like audio or like physical books. I'm probably reading a book every week or 2 weeks. that and like mentorship. So if you can find someone that's a little further along, that's just going to save you a lot of mistakes, because they'll be like, I made that mistake. Don't do it. Do it this way. And then, reading.
But having the insight to not do it still, though. So taking their advice and listening is two things.
Yeah.
You can have the mentorship. I find that like young people just don't even listen anyway.
Yeah. I guess, that's just like the quality of young people, and we were the same way when we were young. I guess if I could sum it up as like learning, just being willing to like continuously learning no matter what age you are. Like I'm 43 now, and I'm still like, I feel like I love it. Like I'm constantly learning new things.
Yeah, I mean now I have gray hair, and I'm now not viewed as this young guy anymore, at least in my industry, and I feel like a kid still, and I think that that's like kind of a good thing.
Yeah,
because once you start, and I was actually thinking about this. I was cleaning up the backyard yesterday, and I was like, we have this new paradigm coming in with artificial intelligence and whatnot, and how it's going to impact me in the fact that I am now becoming the older generation in terms of how I, in my industry, manage money and deal with human beings. The next younger generation comes in below me, and they're in their early 20s. They are way different than me, like way different than me. And if I don't identify the fact that I am not young anymore, but am trying to learn and understand where they're coming from, I'm just going to fall behind. Because I look at all the 55, 65-year-olds in my industry, and I'm just like, you are not doing that, and you should be. And now what are you doing? You're doing everything wrong.
Yeah.
And I know that that's going to come for me.
But like, even though I don't know if this is in your business, and we're both like business owners, so I don't know if maybe you can identify with this. These new technologies come along, and I'm like the first person in the company that's on it. I mean, like, this is interesting. I want to learn more about that. I want to start playing around with that, using it, where I'm having to convince these 20-year-olds to
really
try this stuff. Yeah, I don't know if it's like that in your industry.
It's not. It's definitely not.
Yeah.
But I think that's a good thing.
They like don't trust AI. I'm like, oh, I don't know, man. This seems pretty useful. I think this is going to be a thing that's going to stay around.
Yeah, and it's not going anywhere. People are spending so much money on it that it would be very shocking to me that it won't be something that's important. But I mean, that's a testament though. And it probably speaks to like you staying in your position for a long period of time. Once you probably aren't doing that, that's maybe a signal.
Yeah, no, for sure.
So I'd like to pull on that thread a little bit more. You guys have opened up shops now. You have your we'll call it
Vancouver, Toronto,
Vancouver,
and we had
Toronto.
Edmonton running. At one point we had Vancouver, Edmonton, Toronto, and a magazine at one point. So there's just a lot of like things.
So many things.
Balls, plate spinning.
I find that I come back to you moving to what is probably the hippest city in Western Canada. You open up another one in Toronto shortly after?
3 years after. So Edmonton was 2006, Vancouver was 2009, Toronto was 2012.
Okay. That is a lot in a short period of time.
Yeah.
How did you justify the Toronto store?
Oh, that was the same thing. Like in Vancouver, we knew, well, first of all, we wanted to represent Canada on an international level. When people think of Canada, we wanted it to be Haven. And we knew in order to do that, we couldn't just capture one coast. Like we had to go to the East Coast, and Toronto was the only city we were considering. Like, sure, there's Montreal, but it's not really the same as what Toronto is. So we just knew pretty early on we had to capture both if we were going to represent Canada in our industry.
So that makes a ton of sense. And now I'm thinking in my brain, 2012, you want to represent Canada internationally. I've thought about the business as being you guys importing design and brands from Japan, which has been notoriously difficult to do, which gives you your moat.
Mm-hmm.
But then now through COVID, 2012 is well before COVID, 8 years prior.
Yeah.
You go through this period where you guys are developing a brand, you have a business that's operating, making money, I presume, and then COVID hits. and now you're online. Shopify's been around for 4 or 5 years at this point, and it's only getting better. It enables shipping anywhere, but that also brings in competition. Would it be accurate to say that no longer are you guys the importer of other goods, but now you are representing Canada, so to speak, on, and not necessarily, oh no, we're the Japanese importer business that's located in Canada. Now you guys are, no, we represent what is cool in Canada, and that's how you shop Canada. Is that true?
Yeah, I would say so. It was really important for us to carve out our own unique voice, our own unique aesthetic, our own way of delivering content, so that anything that we put out is distinctively Haven. Like, I know there's Essence, but I don't think a lot of people even know Essence is from Canada. Like, they think it's just this huge.
I've always thought of it as like this discount shop.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that's
how it feels like to me.
Like, yeah. So
it's like, oh, I want to get winter boots that aren't so expensive.
Yeah,
I go on this.
Yeah, I mean, their sales are pretty like legendary, I guess.
Yeah. So that's always how I've interacted with it. It's like, do I want to spend $2,000 on that?
Yeah,
I'm gonna wait until,
because it's coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the question again?
Well, basically, you've become this. You're now
we got 3 shops. We got a
Canada.
magazine. Yeah.
Because if I'm looking for something interesting, I'm going to your guys' shop, and I feel like that's how I would shop Canada versus. I always felt like I'm pretty good at finding things that are unique and perhaps fashion forward or early. But if I'm doing it in clothing, I have like 2 places where I go now.
Right.
And one would be I go to your guys' shop if it's not suit related. I still have to dress like a monkey.
If it's not super
suit related. So like I have to dress like a monkey.
Got it.
Still. Yeah. That's my job, unfortunately. An unfortunate reality. I don't mind.
You don't get casual Fridays?
We actually barely do.
Yeah.
So, but I'm okay with it. I kind of like it. I've embraced it. It's part of me now. Whatever. If I want anything that I'm going to wear from a socially perspective, I'm probably going to go and begin where you guys are, whether it be on your Instagram, just to kind of get some sort of influence. Is that kind of like what you were hoping for? And how do you continue to develop that out?
I think like curation and taste are huge, and they're probably just going to become more important, especially as technology goes towards like AI and
commodification.
Yeah, like so man, if you can get really good at curation and taste and how you present things, if everyone has access to the same things, what's the differentiator? It's got to be taste, in my opinion, and curation, how you present things, and that's a big reason for Haven brand as well. It was like, well, we want to do something that actually resonates and speaks to Canadian values, the way we see Canadian values. I mean, I can't really speak for every Canadian, but there's a certain quality about Canadian brands that wasn't being represented. I'm jumping ahead probably in your script. There's a certain quality in Canadian brands that I don't feel was being represented when we started our brand. Every really great brand from Canada, whether that's Arc'teryx, Canada Goose, Lululemon, like they're rooted in environment and functionality. But there's also somewhat of a quiet confidence about them. Like I don't want to call out like any brands, but like a lot of American brands are a lot louder, especially coming from our world of like streetwear. So those brands, like they're kind of minimal. Like they're not huge logo brands, and that's the way a lot of great Canadian brands have been. And I think that speaks to Canadian values. Like we're not the loudest person in a room of international people.
Yeah.
Right. But that's a true thing. And then, you have your Italians with like Marvel and Lamborghini, and they have their own design sense. And like what is truly Canadian is that quiet confidence as a culture. And I didn't feel like anyone was doing it well in a lifestyle perspective, like Arc'teryx, Goose, and Lululemon, and they were from a outdoor
Mm-hmm.
perspective or yoga, I guess. Like, I mean, Chip Wilson invented like athleisure basically,
Absolutely.
but no one was doing it from lifestyle. So if you're a young designer or creative person coming up in Canada, because of this rise of social media and back to technology, everything's being homogenized, and you're just looking at and what's influencing you. Probably stuff from the States, maybe stuff from internationally, but maybe nothing speaks to your actual cultural values. So we wanted to, I mean, that's my real deeper why of doing the brand is preserving like Canadian values in a lifestyle apparel setting.
And when you say you don't want to speak for Canadians, I think that you've developed the reasonable ability to be an authority on it in terms of fashion. Yeah. So I would suggest that feel free.
Yeah, sure.
The reality is, I think you really, that was, I think, like really important. That it's like this mix of Nordic, because when I think about Northern Europe, whether it be Sweden, Finland, etc., the way that their design sense is like very clean.
Yeah.
I think it's almost as though Canadian is a mixture of that in America.
Yeah, and that's just a culture because we're like a mesh of everything.
Totally.
But also that makes us our own unique thing at once. You know, we have all the seasons, we have rain, snow, like all these different things that you have to make clothing for, which we do, and then there's an aesthetic to it that goes back to just the way we are as people. Like, we apologize a lot, we say sorry, thank you, like stuff like that actually, like, I feel translates to what we wear in a weird way. Yeah.
The fact that you guys have stayed, and I think this speaks to it, but the way that the success that you've reached, I think it's because you stayed true to that and it's worked.
It didn't work at first though. Like,
no, but it never does until it does.
Yeah. It didn't work at first because we were looking at too many outside influences. And the brand started in the fall of 2018. 2019 was our first like full year, spring, summer. We had fall, winter, but it didn't start clicking until I'd say like, a couple years in, because we were looking at too many other places and making things that we were just influenced by too much other stuff. So once I really we kind of reset the brand and started delivering what was authentically us, it matched what people expected of us. Because they didn't want just another Supreme or Kith or whatever. They had an expectation of what we were, and we were then able to rethink the brand to be like, okay, this is actually authentically lining up with their expectations now. And then that's when someone trusts you, I think, and then buys from you because it makes sense now in their head. Yeah.
Or that's just like,
it's really hard to explain to me, but that's the best I can explain it.
Yeah, but it's a slow story tell, and people engage with you over a long period of time. And in order to gain people's trust today, I think, and we talked about prior to even recording this, I mean, like, why does he do this? If you don't create a longer arc to tell your story, or for people to get to know you or the business, I believe it takes a long time to earn somebody's dollars today. Certainly we are addicted to immediate dopamine dumps of entertainment, and that's what catches you to buy something. But that is it's just buying a doodad, Like, for me to buy something that's $35 on Instagram is silly. But for me to buy a pair of jeans that I'll probably wear for 15 years, that takes me a long time. Yeah. And in order to trust somebody who's going to give me that advice or to sell that to me, it takes a long time. Yeah.
It doesn't happen overnight, which a lot of people think it just happens quickly. It doesn't. These things take time, which I think a lot of people don't realize. Like, good things actually still take time, even now.
Yeah. As much as it's probably sped up a little bit, I actually think the importance of slowing down is that much more. So I think about this in the sense of mediums, where you have Instagram that's incredibly fast. You have TikTok that's faster. The different types of ways of interacting with the app, where you have like Reels, and then you have your feed, and you have like the video reel, and then you have people's 20 pictures. All these things evolve, and the new way of interacting with media. But then I think what's even more shocking today is you have artificial AI that can recreate things immediately. More and more content on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok is AI generated. The authentic, real human output will likely require longer form. So if you just look at podcasting, how much more popular that's becoming. That is a long form media or medium that is what people are searching for, so that they can trust something, because they can't trust anything else. I think the same thing goes for pretty much anything if you're going to build something meaningful now. If you aren't going that route, it's a commodity, effectively.
Yeah.
So if you're going to sell something with margin and with meaning, that isn't just numbers and just like, I got to put out as much volume as possible. Well, you better start telling a story that people can attach themselves to.
Yeah.
Because they won't trust you.
Yeah.
That you can't just door knock them anymore.
100%. I mean, I think that's why like podcasts are such a huge thing. Like, look at Joe Rogan. If you ever listen to a full Joe Rogan podcast, the thing's like 4 hours. You know, that's a significant investment of time. And look how popular the guy is, right?
Like, he's a lightning rod for sure. And I think that uniquely, I mean, he's one person that,
or even Huberman, like those things are 3, 4. I'm like, my wife will send me these. It's like, listen to this podcast. I'm like, when am I going to be able to listen to those things like twice? Like, this is like 2 movies.
I know, it is crazy. But what's funny is that I feel as though, I think about, I listen to Invest Like the Best pretty much every single episode that comes out. And if I sat in a room with Patrick O'Shaughnessy, I feel like I would know him.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a clue who I am.
Yeah.
But if I sat with him, anything he said I would think is gospel, because I just believe in his brand. I think everything he does with Colossus and everything he's doing is absolutely right. And I just think that's how anybody who's trying to build a business should be thinking. Maybe not necessarily it has to be a podcast or it has to be this. But.
Yeah, I mean, me and Arthur definitely realized that. And it's not something reluctantly, we didn't really want to be the face of the brand or anything, but we do now understand like the importance of kind of being out there and telling the story. Previously we're just like, let's just let the product speak for itself. Like, we're not going to do any storytelling. And then we quickly realized how important it was.
Yeah.
I think Arnold Schwarzenegger has said once, it's like, you got to build your product or service, and then you just got to advertise. You got to really get your name out there.
Yeah, and then have people experience it. Yeah, that makes sense. So now that you guys have a very popular shop, to me, when I'm shopping the store, it's unique. But then obviously, I mean, you have platforms. Are you guys utilizing Shopify? Is that kind of your back end?
Shopify Plus, yeah.
Yeah.
We were one of the first. I think we were one of the first 500 or 1,000 shops. That's how early we were in Shopify. Yeah.
It being Canadian helps, I think.
Yeah.
And that story, what was his? He wanted to start a snowboard shop, and that's the reason why he built Shopify.
Oh, I don't know the story, but that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So that was the reason why he started shop. Anyways, so it makes a ton of sense why you guys would engage with it, and it just tracks. Now everybody uses it, whether it be Lululemon or Aritzia, or I don't know if Aritzia is using it, but it sure seems like they are. Do you feel as though there would be any reason why you transition away from that? Like, what about what they do for you guys is so important?
From what, Shopify?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want this to sound like an ad for Shopify, but they're just like, they're almost just like the Apple of e-commerce. Like if you ever use like Apple products, they just work. It's like that with Shopify. Like, it's like pre-Shopify, you had a point of sale that wasn't connected to your online stuff, and then you had inventory pools that weren't connected, and you had to have bridges and all these different apps between everything, and they're just able to make that all talk to each other without having to be super technical. That's it. Yeah, I mean, it's just the easiest platform to use.
I legitimately...
Until you get maybe to a certain huge scale,
Yeah.
and then you need things to be really, really customized. But I mean, even Kith is still on Shopify. Like, they're probably using the most advanced version, but yeah, it's gotten to a point where you can really scale. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they would just they would build for you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the idea.
They're really good at opening up their ecosystem with their apps. Like, they have an app store the same way Apple does. And when they see something work, they're just like, hey, we're going to do that now. We're going to do payment processing now. Mm-hmm. We're going to do like influencer, UGC affiliate marketing now. Like, they're just like, we're going to do capital now. If you need money, yeah, call us. Like, yeah. So.
And those things, and you're utilizing most of that stuff with them?
Not all of it. Most of it. Like, we run ads, but we're not huge with, I guess, what is that called? Like influencer affiliate marketing yet. I mean, that's probably why you don't see a ton of like TikTok influencers out there promoting our product or whatever. Like, we're not really, we're favoring more long form content like this, or meaningful articles like Vogue Business or GQ, or more longer form content, because I do feel that aligns more with our customer. Mm-hmm. I think you said it before, like TikTok or Instagram Reels, like they're about like probably cheaper, like commodity based products, whereas I mean, our average order value's over $400. Like, it does take some time to nurture somebody.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and which is a big reason why we're not really heavily invested in TikTok. Like, we feel it's a small team, first of all, so like there's a bandwidth issue, and then we do feel like if we're going to spend the time somewhere, it's probably customers are on Instagram for us.
Yeah, the demographic of use, I would presume, would be wealthier on Instagram and older.
Yeah, that's been like studied.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And even on our Instagram, when you open up our demographics, the second biggest category after the 24 to 35 is the 45 to 54.
Thank goodness.
And it used to be the 18 to 24? That used to be second, but it flipped in the last like year. And then the older, like 45 to 54, has just been really growing. So it's like our second biggest. And that makes sense. Like, it kind of tracks, like, if you're going to buy $1,000 jacket, like, you're probably creative professional or some type of professional, like making a decent amount of money at this point, like that you can have that disposable income. Yeah,
it's not something that's somebody who's going to universities without if they don't have money from somebody is going to be able to do.
Yeah. Although we are trying to, with the brand, we're trying to tier it a bit so that there is some more entry level product. It's not going to be cheap, but like if you're a university student, you had a part-time job, like you could probably save up and buy like a hat or a t-shirt or something and feel part of what we're doing.
So let's talk about that a little bit from a growth perspective. My understanding is that you guys raised some capital over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I presume that was growth capital.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys intending on doing?
I mean, we have a 5-year roadmap. After 5 years, like, I don't really, like, it's really hard to project even after 3 years. But growing the brand is our, what would you call it? Like, our strategic business plan. Like, in the flywheel, it's definitely, that's the growth factor for our company. It's about 25% of sales now and growing. So it's by far like the top brand in our shop. And it's what me and Arthur focus most of our time on. So that's like the number one thing. And then eventually, like, international flagship stores would be in the roadmap for sure. Yeah.
That's interesting to hear. No, I what I have been almost sick of is this idea of we're going to grow as fast as possible, sell to private equity. Grow as fast as possible, sell to private equity. It sounds
I
like
want
you
to
guys just
do
wanna
this
it forever.
for as long as I possibly can. Like, I love my job, and it is such a privilege to be able to do what I do. Like, it's really tiring, but even just being tiring from it is a privilege because I created this life for myself and I get to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty sweet. And I'm not complaining, and I'll do it for as long as I can. Like in Japan, like people, like once they found their purpose in life, they call it like ikigai. They don't stop doing it until they die. Like there's no retirement in Japan. They just keep going. Yeah.
It's funny because that's been the longest running joke in finance is that like their demographics are falling apart, but they'll put someone to work in their 90s.
Yeah.
It's just an
and then that
culture.
makes them healthier and they probably live longer because of that.
Well,
right?
they do.
Yeah,
Obviously. Yeah. That makes a ton of sense. But for whatever reason, that's not what our culture's like.
Yeah, the idea of retirement is weird to me. It's like, especially like, maybe that's tied to doing a job that you really hate for 60 years.
Mm-hmm.
But if you found like your purpose, why not do it for as long as your body can physically do it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that Scott Galloway quote where he often says, it's like, do what you're good at, not what you love. The reason why you do what you're good at because you'll get adulation from others, and that'll make you love it.
Yeah.
And I think there is a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
Because he's like, most people that you see speaking to you and telling you to do what you love, those folks made their money in iron ore smelting.
Yeah.
And whatever. But it's the process and the adulation you get from others. And I believe in that completely.
Yeah. There's a Venn diagram out there somewhere that is like a bubble where it's like what you love, then what you're good at, and then there's like a market one. It's like what the market needs, and then in the middle is like that's the thing that you should do. I think there's like it's a pretty famous diagram. I don't know who made it.
I have no idea either. But that is, I think, the best piece of advice for anyone in their 20s. It's like try to find that point, whatever that is. It might not, because if you were to ask a 22-year-old, like, do what you love, like, he's going to end up being a degenerate. Yeah. So don't listen to that voice, sir. Find what you're good at and what you also tend to enjoy, and you'll end up getting somewhere closer to what maybe perhaps what you have, you know? Yeah. So you have this growth trajectory. You guys have really developed at least a section of your business that's growing quickly. The exit is not anywhere near. That's super interesting, and I think completely different from most folks. And that makes me pretty excited to continue to watch and learn. Kind of on our way out, I had like these 5 quick questions that I wanted to ask you, and it's more just kind of about you. But for myself, I think about like there's this guy on Twitter, the Derek guy or Die Workwear.
Menswear guy.
Yeah, that guy who just roasts conservative people on how they dress.
Yeah.
But he likes to talk about like important pieces in his wardrobe that he loves. He has a really cool blog that he talks about each individual.
I think he's mentioned us a couple times even.
But do you have that yourself?
Do I have what?
Like a bunch of stuff in your wardrobe. What is one thing that someone should go to your shop and buy from? Or what should they buy?
Well, the answer is pretty different. Like in my wardrobe, I definitely have some pretty, like, despite owning this shop, I'm pretty minimalist with my wardrobe. Like it's a very small wardrobe. And like I have a couple pieces that are probably 20 years old.
So it turns over a lot with the exception of those?
It does now since we had the brand. So I'm always kind of actually wear testing a lot of new stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, those 2 things I'll probably keep for a very long time. One is this old jean jacket from Head Porter, which is a brand that doesn't exist anymore. And the other one's just like a Stussy knit cardigan from 20
yeah.
years ago. It's black, has a rolled collar. I can wear it almost anywhere. And yeah, that's the other piece. Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry, is that your question?
It is a
Yeah,
little
okay.
bit. Actually, exactly what I wanted to know. What is one menswear trend from the last 15 years that you're happy occurred?
That I'm happy occurred
Yeah.
or is dead?
No, that I would like both, but which is one that you're happy became popular and one that you wish didn't?
Popularity wise, it's pretty recent, but for a big part of our, I guess, life cycle, like logos all over prints, like that was a huge thing when we were first a company, and that died, and I was pretty happy that died. And people seem to be focusing now more on quality and fabrication, where things are made. So like quality in over, I guess, like logo and brand. And then the thing that I'm happy that died.
It can be both of those.
Yeah,
things.
yeah. I mean, I'm not liking the flip flop trend right now. Just because, like, okay, I like flip flops at a certain time and place. Like if you're at the beach, you're at the lake, sure. But yeah, you can't be walking around the city in flip flops, especially like downtown Vancouver at Edmonton. Like that's just half an inch of material between you and concrete. Like, come on, that's crazy. That and like the Vibram like 5-toed, shoes. Yeah. Like those creep me out.
Those are
like
awful.
But they seem to be kind of coming back. So
really?
Yeah, like very slowly.
Have you ever heard of the Stod guy on Instagram?
The style guy?
No, his name is like Stod, the city.
No, who's that?
So he became infamous or famous a couple years back because Instagram or someone did a story on him having the highest net worth following on Instagram.
Okay.
As an aggregate. And
Why
basically all he does is make fun of rich people.
Oh.
But in a unique way, where he talks about going to Stad, which is this ski town in Switzerland that the wealthiest people on earth send their kids to go to school. Okay. And he also ironically went there to go to school. So he knows the culture of being like pretentiously wealthy.
I got to follow this guy.
Yeah, okay, I'll send it to you after this.
For sure.
Anyways, he just did a video on why you shouldn't wear flip-flops.
It's crazy. I mean, at a certain time and place, yes. But you can't walk around the city in flip-flops. That's crazy talk. You can't go to a party in flip-flops.
Absolutely not. He actually says you should never. You either wear bare feet or you wear toe-covered shoes. So that was his take. But if you were to watch it, he basically makes fun of all of these folks at all of these beach clubs in Europe who are wearing Birkenstocks and stuff. Okay. And he's like, you guys are silly. You're little boys. You shouldn't be doing that.
That's hilarious.
Anyways, he's a great follow if you haven't yet. What is your take on the drop model? Good or bad?
I think brands releasing like weekly drops. Net negative, I think.
Yeah, and the scarcity model that has developed.
Yeah, net negative for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you want me to explain it, or is that?
Well, I've talked about it a ton.
Yeah.
So I did a podcast way back in like 2021 where I talked about the emerging scarcity model, and it has now just become everything. Yeah. And it drives up the cost of things. And
unfortunately, it's kind of here to stay. But I personally don't like it. It's like I'd rather people just buy things intentionally and not feel like, oh, I need to get this. I just don't like that hype cycle. Net negative for sure.
All right. Okay, so beyond AI, what is one piece of technology you believe will fundamentally change fashion retail in the next
fashion? For me, it's like, and this might be part AI, but AR, where
augmented reality.
Yeah, like where you can point the phone at like a mirror or something in your house, and you can try on stuff that you're looking at in the screen.
For people
full
watching
outfits. It's really hard to do full outfits right now. Like
sunglasses are easy.
yeah, so Oakley has that, so that's easier. But like a full outfit, that's tougher. And I think AI might be involved in that somehow. And I've seen some stuff out of Asia where you don't need your phone; it's just built into a mirror, but is also a screen at the same time. But it's not widely used yet, and I think that sort of technology will become. It's going to allow people to live in places that don't have access, or not international cities, have access to these brands. So it's just going to allow more access, I think. Because you're obviously going, if you're going to buy a $2,000 leather jacket or something, I want to kind of see how it looks on me. Yeah.
Okay, so what's a brand in Canada that you wish more people knew about, other than yourself?
Brand in Canada,
or even say one that you think is emerging that people should be on the lookout for.
One of my favorite brands that we recently picked up in the last couple of seasons is called Après. And just like the level of detail that these guys put into the product is insane. Like they'll source actual zippers they'll find a box of zippers from like the 1970s, like vintage, and buy that so that they can put it on their 2025 product. Like that's how crazy these guys are. Yeah. So take a look. It's on our website, but that's one of my favorite brands in recent times.
So going to Hong Kong would be really neat, and I would assume have its own challenges.
Yeah, probably
Tokyo.
Tokyo,
Sorry.
Hong Kong's actually super hard to open in, apparently.
Also,
that's what the Vism guys tell me. I don't know why. But
well, I presume it's because
maybe political.
Yeah. And not only that, the projected likelihood of it becoming China.
Yeah. I think Tokyo is easier, from what I hear.
I would assume so. I have no idea.
We're just dealing with it now, but
that's really fun. And honestly, I think this would be a whole nother podcast beyond this. I'd love to hear about just the challenges that come along with going and attempting something like that. Yeah. That's an interesting, and you've been to Japan a number of times.
Oh, tons. I can't even count at this point.
How much do they import other culture there? Because it feels like they're an exporter of culture, like the United States is.
Yeah, there is a bit of import more recently. Like traditionally, Japan is known for like taking other culture, especially like American workwear or whatever, and making it amazing. Mm-hmm. But it is working in the other way too, where they will bring like American exports there. Like Arc'teryx is big in Japan. Mm-hmm. So are brands like Stussy or like Supreme, obviously, and probably a lot of more menswear brands as well. Yeah, for sure.
Like Levi's and whatever. Yeah. More traditional.
Definitely.
I guess this will be more of a finishing thing. I view you guys more of a luxury brand from my perspective. And I think that the silliest thing people do with what is seemingly supposed to be a luxury brand is they try to fast track it and speed it up.
Right.
And the Restoration Hardware team is currently doing that, where they're trying to fast track their way to being a Chanel or whatever that might be in the furniture space in Europe. But and you can't. It's no, this is a 100-year thing.
Yeah.
And truthfully, to be recognized as being a Gucci or something along the Hermes or whatever, it's going to take 120 years. And there's no way around time. It's the only constant, right, that you're marking to. So truthfully, it's probably your next generation and the generation after that. So passing that on, and if you can just believe in that long march, that's probably
I'm okay
how
with
it's done.
I'm okay with being part of that long story. Truthfully, I mean, there are a lot of more recent, like true luxury brands, like the Row is kind of what comes to mind. But the process is still like built over like decades, not just a few years. And I mean, luxury is just, I hate that word because it's just such a,
it's become
you can really toss it around. It's not just about price. Heritage is one.
Quality.
Yeah. It is quality for sure.
Heritage is a good word. That's a better word to be used.
Yeah,
I
and
like that.
consistent quality. Like, I guess what would I compare it to? If we were, I wouldn't say we're luxury in the way like a Hermes is, where, you know,
They have
like I've read a
scarcity.
lot of luxury books, and luxury is the premium you pay on brand.
Okay.
So where you can say, hey, my quality is, if this was a chart, my quality is here, go along here, that's my price. And luxury now sits here, and this is the premium you pay. I wouldn't say we're touching on that, but I would say we're more like sub-luxury. Similar to, say, like a Stone Island, maybe an Arc'teryx Valence, where there is like a correlation to actual quality. I don't really want to create a brand that only a certain people can afford. Yeah, that's kind of, yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to do. If we were like a watch, for example, we'd be like a Rolex, not a Philippe Patek. If we were a car, we'd be like, you know, a Porsche, not like a Rolls Royce type of thing. That's kind of like entry level luxury, I guess.
And now the Porsche dealerships have ruined that. But
yeah, what's happening with the Porsche dealerships?
you can't get them.
What?
You can't. You can buy a 911 if you're willing to wait on a wait list or buy a 718.
Oh, so
first,
they're using like
buy a Cayman first, and then
they're using like that whole Birkin model, like scarcity model.
Well, it's like a Rolex. Rolex just recently bought Berkshire,
Yeah.
the 100+ stores, because
Oh, I read that.
all
Yeah.
their dealerships that they would sell or had relationships with
Yeah.
were intentionally driving up product costs through COVID.
Yeah.
And now it's impossible to buy from them unless you go and you buy their diamonds and whatever. You need to develop a relationship with your dealership, right?
Yeah.
It's very similar with Porsche, it seems. Maybe that's just a Canadian thing, but I'm pretty sure it's not in North America. It's more so broadly across North America. But having those relationships set up properly so that you can maintain the experience at the store is important. And Rolex has now just decided, screw it, we're going to buy 100 of these stores, and then we're going to now start to have like a...
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I believe that they're trying to reinitiate what you are trying to build, which is a good experience with the brand. Not someone who goes to buy a Rolex today has a horrible taste in their mouth,
Right.
Because they're getting roasted by the person who owns the distribution.
Yeah.
I think Rolex wants to recontrol the distribution story.
And the point of retail, like I heard, I've never been in a Hermes store, but if you went to like Paris and went to a Hermes store, I heard the experience was like just amazing. And that's kind of what, there is a thing about luxury where it still really values like in-store experience, and they really try and make that special stuff.
Well, thank you for your time, man.
I could go on for a long time. Like
Sounds good.
For sure.
I appreciate it. That's all for today. Thanks for listening. If you found this valuable, please subscribe and share it with a friend. As always, the information on this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered financial and/or tax advice. Please consult a licensed professional for your own personal situation. Joel is a registered portfolio manager and investment advisor, and clients of his and his firm may own securities discussed on this podcast.